Today on the Ever Onward podcast, we have Michael Ballantyne. Michael is a long time friend. He is absolutely one of the pillars of our community here in the Treasure Valley. Is literally involved in every nonprofit and effort that is making this place great and has made it great for a long time. He's a 7th generation Idahoan. Mike has been the managing partner of TOK Commercial, which is the largest commercial real estate brokerage and property management company in Treasure Valley, now regionally. He's been that for the last 20 years. He is the go-to for all things that has to do with commercial real estate in Idaho, and especially here in the Treasure Valley. And most importantly, an incredible friend, philanthropist, carrying on the heritage of his parents. I'm really excited to have him on today, Michael Ballantyne. Michael Ballantyne, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get you on forever.
I'm as busy as you are.
You're a tough person to book here.
Well, you have many more fascinating people, I think, that go to the top of the list.
There's few people that come on and I need to prep a little bit with you. I don't.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
As my mother said, I've mastered half the art of conversation. So
we were just in D.C. together.
Yeah.
And between you and I telling stories.
Yeah. We got a few eye rolls.
It makes for a great dinner.
Yeah.
It goes by quickly. I'm sure this will go by quickly. But hey, I've known you for a long time. I think I'm not just blowing smoke here. You got to be one of the most you look in the real estate world, you're the go-to. Reputation.
Thank you.
You're involved in the chamber and every other. I'm thinking St. Al's. I mean, I just off the top of my head, all the different things you've done over the years. There's a lot of people that talk about giving back, and then there's Mike Ballantyne who does, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things to talk about today. But for those who don't know you as well as I do, I mean, this Idaho thing means a lot to you, and you've got stories that go back. I mean, just from D.C. last week, we were talking about things. So tell me a little bit about growing up here.
Well, so my family's been here 7 generations now, since 1863. Came from Scotland.
That's longer than old Brad.
Yeah. Well, Brad and I are distant relatives, actually. So our families came from the same area and married.
I used to hate that when we were on the campaign trail, because here I was going up against him. We would be up in in Moscow, right? You were at the University of Idaho giving a speech, and one of my favorite things he'd say, "Well, Genesee right down the road. Well, my great aunt Martha planted the first lilac bush there, and it's still there if you go into town." And I'm like, man.
Oh, their family
it would take all the steam
has had
out
a
of
huge impact in Idaho. So, yeah, for sure. But born and raised here, and I'm actually adopted. My parents adopted 6 kids, all from birth, from all over the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada, and had a great upbringing. My dad was a broker and developer. A reformed dairy farmer. My grandfather was a reformed dairy farmer and also a broker and developer. So I grew up in the back of my dad's old travel when he was selling farms and ranches, and he developed a lot of stuff around Cascade Lake, and so it's a fun life. It was like it was. My mom was going to write a book once called Champagne and Hot Dogs, because our family was, my dad would be doing $1 million deal over here, and my mom would be cutting hot dogs in the Kraft macaroni and cheese to feed all these kids, and so spent some time in D.C. working for USAID as a contractor, actually, in Latin America and Africa primarily, in the former Soviet bloc. It was fantastic. USAID was an amazing organization. It's a tragedy it's no longer around, but it was time to come back, so came back and tried to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up. I'm still trying to figure it out, but got into real estate and been doing that ever since, and lucky enough to land at TOK, and we've had a wild ride. It's been really fun.
You guys are the go-to. You've been the managing partner for a long time.
For a while, yeah. I think since 2005.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be 20
with Mike Keller, and then solo after that. So yeah.
Hey, I didn't know you were adopted.
Oh yeah, my dad's passed, but my parents were amazing human beings and adopted 6 kids, all from birth. My mother was a high school girl who got in trouble, and I was likely a booth baby. That was why I co-chaired that campaign to build a new booth home on Emerald, the new Salvation Army facility. Yeah.
You said a lot right there, but adoption's near and dear to us. 2 of our children are
I know,
adopted, and
I
it's
know.
like an absolute miracle. We love talking about it. And it's one of the coolest things we've ever done. But the booth house was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with today is we're going to be able to talk about it. I mean,
Right.
this was a big thing, and you led that campaign.
Yeah, I co-chaired that with Jennifer Delgard, who's Tom Nicholson's daughter, amazing human being. And, I went and did the tour. Eric Bollinger asked me to go out and take a look and did the tour, and then they get you in a corner and they always ask you for cash. But he asked me to chair the campaign, and originally it was a $7.5 million campaign, and it ended up being a $10 million campaign. But that home had been there forever. Women from all over the United States had gone and had children there. So high school girls that got in trouble, so to speak. But the last campaign was in 1968, and J.R. Simplot chaired that campaign. So facility was little run down and in the wrong location. It was in the north end. So we built a new facility, Salvation Army Service Center on Emerald near Central District Health, near St. Alphonsus, near the mall. All amenities and services, that type of thing. So it was a big campaign. Took about 5 years, but it was fantastic. And they actually have a school there called Cardinal Academy.
Yeah.
And the girls and boys, the fathers can actually go there as well, and they can stay until they graduate. They don't have to go back once they've had the child. So it's a great program.
Amazing. It's a beautiful building.
Yeah, really nice.
Talked about change. How's it been? 'Cause it's been probably, I don't know, how many years ago you opened?
I think we finished we started in 2015. I think we finished 2020.
Yeah. So
right before
what
COVID.
are the results been like?
I think it's been good. I haven't been as involved. I don't serve on the board or anything like that, but I think they were able to consolidate a lot of services, move off of State Street, move out of the North End, be in a real highly visible location on the bus line, more able to serve folks. But I think it's been great. So, but Salvation Army does great work. They do the Lord's work. It's a fantastic organization.
That's great. Well, thanks for bringing that up. I think, again, there's going to be so many things to talk about today, but your philanthropic kind of heart, does that come from your parents?
Yeah, my parents were super involved. My dad retired early. He did really well, and it was the oil shock in the 80s and 18% interest rates, and he's just like, why am I doing this? I'm going to go down to BSU and paint watercolors. And he started the K-Kids program and planted trees all over the valley. In fact, our house, we had 5 acres. 3 of those acres were a tree farm, so they could plant trees at elementary schools because the school districts couldn't afford trees, right? So I kind of grew up at the north end of a shovel, helping in the community. My parents really preached that. Giving back, to whom much is given, much is expected, right? So, yeah. So,
were they raised that way too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing that makes Boise great. I think there are a lot of people that were raised that way, and I think we emphasize it at TOK. In fact, we have 33 partners now, and it's one thing that makes our model a lot different. And we're in 7. We have 7 offices, 33 partners. We're in Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Utah. The offices are only in Idaho and Washington right now, but we have certain criteria, like for a broker to become a partner, and it's production and time with the company and designations, getting additional education and training. But one of the criteria is they have to prove that they're involved in the fabric of the community, that they give back. We benefit from growth, as do you, right? And growth is great, but if you're not working hard to protect what makes Boise an amazing place, you're going to lose what makes this place special. And I want my grandkids and great grandkids and others to live here and love it as much as I do. I love this town.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
that's great. So let's talk a little bit about TOK. So when you come in 20 years ago, you believe that, Mike?
Yeah. I'm old, Tommy. Old.
You've been the managing partner for 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's, I was going to say, as long as I've kind of known you, you've been the managing partner. But talk about riding that ride, because I think 20 years ago you didn't have offices all over.
No, we just had one office.
So you've scaled a lot.
Yeah, we were much
but you also
smaller.
have just been dominant kind of here in this market.
Yeah.
What has it been like to grow the business? And then talk a little bit, one of the things that I'm sure everyone that sees you on this podcast want to know is, hey, what's it been like with growth? What are you seeing? What's going on out there? But that's a lot to cover, but start with just the business.
Well, I mean, TOK, it was originally started by 3 guys, Thornton Oliver and later Mike Keller. And Tim Thorne and Peter Oliver started the firm, CBRE guys that came to Boise providing quality third-party brokerage and management. There just wasn't that in our market. And it's just been an amazing ride. We have a fantastic team, incredible brokers. Our market share is stupid. I think in every market except the inland Northwest, our market share is better than a third. And that's unheard of. You go to any other market and maybe the dominant player would be 12 to 15% market share. So, and that's with a lot of big nationals coming in the market. Yeah. So we've been really lucky. And I think our model's different. We believe in ownership. We celebrate our successes and really raise up a typical brokerage. The brokers are these rock star, professional athletes, and everybody else's sort of job is to make them look good. And we don't play that way. I don't care if you're a maintenance person, a day porter, a support person, the receptionist, what you get. We spend as much time lifting them up as we do the brokers. And we had a deal in 2021 was our 30-year anniversary, and we had everybody in my backyard, and we had everybody got 3 envelopes. First envelope was 30 hours of PTO. Second envelope was $300 cash, 30 $10 bills, 30 years, right? And the final envelope was a travel voucher for $3,000 anywhere in the world, right? Because those people had done that. They were the reason we were so successful. And we had people that had been there 2 weeks that got a trip, right? So we try to really celebrate our people, take care of our people, recognize people, create success. Our biggest challenge is growth. In that I think growth for growth's sake is not healthy, but growth to create opportunity for your people is really important for your clients and customers.
Well said.
And for your people, right? And so we really want, the thing I hate is before we came on the podcast, we're talking about people leaving, right? And the thing I hate is where someone says, hey, I have to leave because my supervisor would have to die or quit for me to get a promotion. And so we do a couple things. We really look for situational leadership opportunities. Hey, we're going to roll out this new software. We'd like you to lead that, and it may not be a supervisor type position, but giving them a chance and opportunity.
It's super rewarding too when you see that happen, and it happens organically with people that are committed, and then they grow into something. There's nothing better.
You have leaders by position, and you have leaders by personality. And we have a ton of leaders who are not on the leadership team, but they are leaders by personality or by the type of human being that they are. The other thing is growth through just natural organic growth. And so that's either in service lines, like we now have an appraisal evaluation company. We purchased Mountain States Appraisal.
I didn't know that.
We're partners with Joe Corlett. He's an amazing human. And most big brokerage houses have appraisal company. We bought Intermountain Property Services. We provide, in addition to property management, a lot of property services for our clients. And that's a big piece of our business. So that allows more opportunity for leadership, that type of thing. So it's growth in service lines, and then, of course, geographic growth. So, we just opened in June our Spokane office, and I think we've got 150 to 175 people, and so that gives people an opportunity to move up within the organization, that type of thing, because of additional responsibilities. But it also is really good for our client. We, most of our 50% of our transactions are done with folks from out of town who are coming to Boise, buying property in Boise, that type of thing. And one of their first questions is, where else should I be going? And, Idaho Falls, Twin Falls, Coeur d'Alene, Spokane, Oregon, Tri-Cities, I call them lifestyle markets. Our model's a little different in that we don't want to be the biggest. We don't want to sell more widgets than anybody else. We want to be the best. And one of our deals that really sets us apart is this research model that we have, where we don't participate with CoStar and LoopNet and all that stuff. We build our own database. We go in. Right now, we're in Spokane building the database. We use the county information, city information, all the other resources. We track 125 million square feet in the markets that we cover.
It's your own proprietary
data.
It's our own proprietary.
We have this brilliant guy, Josh Paul, who built this software, and it is incredible. It's built on the SQL Server. So if I tell you the market, the industrial market is 5.1% vacant, it is literally 5.1. Yeah. It's not a sampling or anything like that. It's the actual vacancy.
I talk a little bit for those listening, like those other databases are national.
Yeah.
And they rely a lot on self-reporting, right?
Right. And they're terrible.
and
You're
they're
lucky if they're
terrible.
70%
Yeah,
accurate
yeah.
in Boise, and you get into smaller markets, they're not even close.
A lot of times they're taken as gospel too, right?
Yeah.
By a lot of people.
And Idaho's a non-disclosure state, so they'll literally
Yeah.
see a recorded deed of trust for
Yeah.
$1 million and say, well, that sold for $1 million. Well, that was just the loan.
Yeah.
That wasn't the actual purchase price. But we love those markets. We call them lifestyle markets. If it's on the cover of Mountain Biking Magazine or Outside Magazine, it's probably a market we want to be in. Boise and Spokane will probably be the biggest markets we ever go into, because you have to be able to get your arms all the way around a market. And
makes sense.
And a Seattle or an LA, you can't get every building, every transaction tracked. So that gives us a huge competitive advantage. And you're looking at high growth markets. So you're in high growth markets where there's not a lot of national competitors, right? Where you've got better data than anybody else, and it leads to success. And
awesome.
then that flywheel of property management and brokerage feeding each other, and you sell a building and you turn over to property management. But at the end of the day, it's all about taking really good care of your clients. You know that. You do a great job with that.
It's all that matters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every time someone says that, it reminds me of a story. I was, the bodybuilding.com's guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember Ryan giving a talk
DeLuca,
to it wasn't the chamber, but it was a big event. There had to be like 300 people there. And I was sitting at one of the tables up front, and I'd never heard him. I knew him, and he's a great guy. Like, you get around those two guys.
Yeah, high energy.
Yep. And it's one of those things where it's like, who made this work? And then you get to know him, you're like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets up front, and he's giving a formal talk to all these people. And he's talking about his success and the reason he had success. And he gets to customers and repeat customers and taking care of them. And I'll never forget, I was sitting at a table with the mayor of Meridian and a bunch of dignitaries up front. And he says, hey, at bodybuilding.com, we don't just take care of our customers, we dry hump them.
Well, we don't do that for our clients. So yeah.
Seriously, was like, it was like one of those few times in my life you look around the table like, okay, is everyone going to laugh?
Interesting terminology.
What are they going to do?
Right.
But in his vernacular and how he's doing it. But I've always, like, internally in our company, we'll say, hey, you remember what Ryan DeLuca said about taking care of people?
Right.
But his point, it was a very vivid way of remembering. It's all about repeat business.
Yeah.
I mean, if you thought about your repeat business over your career in real estate.
We are so lucky. Peter Oliver, who's a great broker, he calls it blocking and tackling. It's just doing the right thing every day, calling your clients back. Nothing is more frustrating than if I get a call from somebody who says, I've been trying to get a hold of this broker for 3 days. I just want to.
Isn't it just crazy?
Yeah, it just drives you crazy. That's the blocking and tackling. It's not your latest technology and podcasts or anything like that. It's just blocking and tackling. It's just taking care of your clients and being a good
Is there anything more irritating than that too?
Man.
I've had that happen a couple times where it's like, hey, we had, and it's business, right?
Yeah.
It's business that's looking for a place to land. I can't get a hold of your guy.
I know.
I'm like,
I know.
What do you mean you can't get a hold of me?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you just go through the roof, right?
And everybody has stuff going on, and we're all super busy. And sometimes it happens, you're out of cell phone range, you're hunting or whatever. But it's that, over communication is the key, right?
Yeah. Great. Let's switch to growth. Wow.
Yeah. We've been riding a tiger, right? So we've been lucky.
We're lucky, right?
Yeah. And, we're in so many markets, and there is no market like Boise. I mean, it is by far and away our best market. And we're in some great markets, but it is crazy good.
It's not slowing down. I want to get into that with you. And kind of, it is interesting. I spent at least 2 days, what is today, Thursday? 2 days this week in significant conversations about people that are just kind of tired of it.
Oh, yeah.
Growth fatigue is a real deal. So back in the day when we did 8th and Main and we did these projects and everyone's, oh, great, you're bringing Top Golf or you're filling the hole and those days are over, man. They don't want to see
until you get to the other side. I mean, if I had to take one or the other, I lived here in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it was last guy out, shut out the lights. I mean, Boise was dying. Yeah. And Boise looked like a war zone downtown. Collier's magazine had that famous article, Boise, the only city to dismantle itself. We had torn down all these buildings.
I think Dirk Kempthorne, I've been around him a while. He calls it Little Beirut.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was terrible, but we were planning for the future. But kids would graduate high school, they go away to college, and they want to come back. Yeah. And I want to create a community where people want to come back to.
Do you remember that's all we talked, the early 2000s even? all anyone talked about, every board we were on, is how do we keep our kids here? How do we get wages? How do we stop them from going away to school? How do we stop, and
we did a really good job of it, Tommy.
We did a really good job. Well, and you think about, I wasn't here, I got here in the 90s, but you look at those early days of Custra and what Boise State became and kind of went on, and and now all of a sudden, okay, Boise State is not, your kids don't go away, they go to Boise State.
Yeah.
Big deal, keeping them here. You look at CWI, that spinoff and what Gordon's doing. So you look at educationally what's going on. There was always the outdoors.
Right.
There was always the arts. You think of Shakespeare and Morrison Center. And so there was all these elements that were great.
Yeah.
But then what happened was all of a sudden you had wages, you had jobs, it was discovered. So it's what we all wanted.
Right.
And it happened.
But I think, Boise in the 70s was growing like crazy. It was
because you had all those Fortune 50 companies.
I mean, there was an article that said Boise had more millionaires per capita than anywhere in the country back in the 70s. And, you had Morrison Knudsen and Ore-Ida and Simplot and HP and Albertsons and all these Boise Cascade, all these amazing companies.
You think about Morrison Knudsen, the largest construction company in the world was centered here.
Yeah.
You had HP going crazy.
Yeah, their largest operation outside
Boise Cascade.
Yeah, but part of our growth goes back to those guys. The guys in Morrison Knudsen, they lived all over the world.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, why don't we have a world-class performing arts center?
Yeah.
Why don't we have a world-class football team?
Yeah.
And Shakespeare and the Morrison Center and all these incredible parks. I mean, those go back to the 1800s, where people were thinking about, how do I make this a better place? I mean, there are some great photos, if you get a chance, at Boise City Department of Art and History, the Idaho Historical Society, of this valley. This was ugly. Yeah. It was so ugly. And they made paradise out of the desert. This is a high mountain desert. We haven't
mentioned very much the Simplot family, the Albertson family.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the heritage here.
Oh, yeah.
It's
absolutely
deep. And those roots, that fabric, is what made the growth possible, the keeping your kids here, the wages possible. So that was always the beautiful part of this, right?
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, here's great. So where the village is today, that was Harry Morrison's stables, where he kept his huge draft horses and his plows, what they call blades, to cut all the canals that created the irrigation system that allowed us to grow initially through agribusiness, right? In fact, when they were excavating for the village, they kept finding these giant horseshoes, right? And they even found a little
draft horses.
Yeah, off his draft horses, and nails and that type of stuff. So, yeah, it's crazy.
But now it's discovered. And listen, I don't. Sometimes on this podcast we talk about the people that have come here from outside. Over the last 10 years, there is a big time anti-growth sentiment. I think California gets a bad name here, but they earn it. Yeah. Because in every hearing I'm in, it's largely Californians that have been here the last 3 or 4 years saying, hey, stop this thing.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I remember standing on the beach at Cascade Lake as a kid, and there was a guy who was an executive at HP who had come in when HP first came, and it was the 80s. He'd been here about 10 years. And he was like, "Oh, we got to shut the door. We cannot let these people in." And my dad's like, "Somebody let you in. Somebody let us in." In 1863. Probably not. They weren't probably real happy about us coming. So there is that. I don't have any problem with people coming as long as they share our values and they want to keep Boise, what makes Boise special, right? But the biggest issue we have is a strain on our services, right?
Yeah.
And education and roads and that type of stuff. I was talking to a guy that sells hot tubs, and I was like, "How's it going?" He's like, "Oh my gosh, I just had the best year of my life. It's crazy." And in the next sentence, he's talking about how terrible growth is. Well, all those hot tubs are being sold to houses that people are buying that are moving from other places. So you can't have it both ways, but it is incumbent upon him and you and me to make sure that this city grows properly, or this valley grows properly.
So what are some of those elements? What does that mean to you?
Hey, we need to get a bypass south of town. I've heard somebody is leading that effort. That's really important.
Yeah, I mean,
it's transportation, it's education.
Let's talk about Micron. No one loves that story better. Like, we didn't mention that either. You hear Micron, born and bred here,
basement of a dentist's office at Northview and Cole Road,
wonderful
right?
people.
Yeah,
and now it's $50 billion being spent here. Put that in perspective.
Yeah,
when they announced the first fab, it was $15 billion.
Right.
I went back and looked. 10 years of building permits through the city of Boise was $10 billion. So I mean, we're talking 50 years of value in just a building permit. It's an odd way to measure it, but the impact is...
That's interesting. It's true.
Is there. So infrastructure, power.
Yeah.
You talk about power.
Yeah, Lisa Groh talks
water.
about having to get 40 years of infrastructure, power demand built in 5 years,
Yeah.
right? And it's not just from people moving in, but it's from industry.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, we've got infrastructure issues, we've got education issues. We have to double down on education rather than cutting back on it. You know, we've got transportation issues, healthcare, right? You know, we have a healthcare system that works.
Yeah.
So we're blessed to have two incredible health systems between St. Luke's and St. Alphonsus, and but you know, St. Alphonsus actually has another hospital in their system, St. Agnes in Fresno, and it is day and night between what we deal with in Boise or Nampa or Ontario, Baker City, and what they're dealing with in
Odette
Fresno.
go down there for a bit?
Well,
They put her over that.
Well, they added, because St. Alphonsus is so successful, they said, well, let's just, you know, Idaho and Oregon are right next to
That's what they
California.
did.
Let's just add St. Agnes to this health system. And those people are incredible people at St. Agnes. They're doing the Lord's work. But Fresno and California in general they're struggling with healthcare. Highly regulated. Their payment model doesn't work. It just, and we still, you know, it generally still works in Idaho. I mean, we actually, our model is probably 30 years old compared to other places, but
I don't even know anymore. This weekend I went and visited a friend in the ER in downtown St. Louis. So I spent a significant portion of my life down there.
yeah, I've heard that about you.
But I was just there. I was there for a few hours, and first of all, the weird thing for me, I went in expecting to know some nurses,
And you didn't know anybody. Yeah.
Liz, the unit clerk, ran up and gave me a hug. It was, and I said,
She's the only person
I
you
said,
knew.
Liz, there's got to be someone else here.
You never go back, Tommy.
There's no one. It's just changed. It's just changed. It's big. It's busy.
I know. Well, it's weird. Healthcare, the payment model doesn't work. The delivery model doesn't work. Technology isn't keeping up, you know, but yet we deliver the best healthcare in the world.
We do.
And that all goes back to those people that are working in the trenches. We have incredible doctors and nurses and
How do we approach all
support
this?
people.
I mean, you just rattled off the challenges.
It's engagement. I mean, it's being active in the Boise Metro Chamber of Commerce. It's being active in BVEP. It's going to city council meetings. It's serving on committees.
So your point is, no one's going to come solve these issues for us,
We have
right?
to solve them ourselves. That's what we've always done in this valley.
I
We
love that.
lived in a desert and we cut canals, right?
Yeah.
The New York Canal is called the New York Canal because we went to New York City and went to New York Life and said, hey, we want to borrow this money so we can cut these canals and irrigate the desert. We can do it. None of these challenges can't be overcome.
For
as
people
long as
out
we're
there,
all involved.
the one I want to get some sage wisdom from Michael Ballantyne
Well,
today.
you're in trouble.
No, but if you're talking, there's people that listen to this. For those, because I think sitting back and waiting for the involvement we're talking about there's a few really good things going on. Now let's get positive. I think Bobby Joe at the chamber is like,
She's a rock star. Man, she is awesome. She's doing great things.
and I think that and
And
Sean,
Clark Krause at BVEP.
Yeah,
I mean, we have probably the best economic development guy in the country.
yeah, and you got her and you got Sean Evans. We got really good business-led organizations. So if your company is not involved in those chambers and going to those events and being part of those, you think of the subcommittees, you think of what they do to watch legislation and watch out for business, and it's just really well run.
Well, and we're always innovating. You know, Leadership Boise, which is an incredible program. You go
Talk about that a little bit.
You go for a year, 9 months, 1 day each month, and you spend that day learning about the law enforcement in the valley or healthcare in the valley or whatever the case may be. And it's participant run. It's really a powerful program. 40 or 50 people you go through with, you make lifelong friends. I go skiing every year with 11 other guys. We've gone every year since 99, and almost all those guys were in my Leadership Boise class. But
so it's designed, because I don't think enough people know about Leadership Boise. So Leadership Boise is designed for young professionals wanting to learn
Mostly
more
younger,
about how to get into the. It's a wonderful way to.
Yeah. And most of the leading corporations in town send their future leaders. Like, this is a chance for them to learn about their community. And what happens is those people become engaged, and then they end up, serving on boards for the health systems and the nonprofits, that type of thing. So that's an amazing program. But that started in Boise, Idaho. I think like Skip Oppenheimer was like in the first class, right? Well, now every chamber in the nation has that program. Wow. They copied it from Boise, Idaho. I don't know what it is. And this is my personal philosophy, is that you look at the West, and every Western state, with I'd say the exception of Montana, has one major MSA, and then some secondary markets. Seattle, Salt Lake, Denver, Boise. Montana just has all these 50 to 150,000 person markets. And Boise is the most geographically isolated MSA in the lower 48. And so there was this feeling always that nobody is going to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves, right? We're out in the middle of this desert by ourselves, this high mountain desert. And you look at places like Spokane and some of the challenges they're having with homelessness and crime and substance abuse, and other communities like up and down I-5. I think in a lot of cases, they looked to the big city, like looked to Seattle or looked to Salt Lake, help us with this. We didn't look to anybody. We just did it ourselves. And that's always been the Idaho way. That's always been the Boise way. And we have to continue that and not lose it. And you can't, like you just said, sit back and watch others do it. If you're not actively involved in your community, whether you're teaching Sunday school, coaching soccer, serving on a nonprofit board, whatever, you are not giving back to your community. You have to do that if
Mike,
we're going to.
I think that's just awesome. So chamber involvement in chambers is a big deal.
Yeah.
And the programs are rich. They're really good for and especially if you're scaling an organization.
Yeah.
To get your folks involved. So that's great. You hit on the second one. I get asked all the time, what should I be doing? I said, one, be part of a chamber and get involved. Yeah. Second is a nonprofit board. Yeah. There's not a more wonderful way for an aspiring young professional that wants to make a difference in their community to just go volunteer on a board.
Yeah. I mean, our Boys and Girls Club, we have like the best Boys and Girls Club in the country, right? Crime, what does they say? Crime drops 1/3 in a community when you had a Boys and Girls Club, but they need volunteer leaders there, and boards of sports, soccer, Rush, whatever the case may be. The Shakespeare Festival. There's just so many, and they're dying for people to serve on these boards or serve on committees. Angela Taylor, have you had Angela on yet?
I haven't, but we're trying. She's kind of like the Mike Ballantyne of my former women NBA.
She is like, I mean,
she's unbelievable.
She was captain of the Stanford women's basketball team when they won the national title and worked in the WNBA.
She'll be on here.
She's amazing. But she's got the Taylor Lead Foundation that her father and mother started that she's taking statewide, helping young women go to college who are athletes. Her I Win initiative. I mean, she is exactly what we're talking about. Someone who said, I see a need. I'm going to help fill that need, So, and you're one of those people, Tommy. I mean, you've done tons of stuff like that.
If you think about chambers, community boards, and then civic engagement, I do think you look around our valley. What I like. We are living in a partisan world where people want to rip each other's throats out. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's been times in American history where it's been this bad, but I haven't lived in one.
1870s.
Yeah, probably the 1870s.
Terrible.
But I think we live in a very, very blue Boise, right? And then
in a very, very red state. And
I think as you march across the valley between Boise, Garden City, Meridian,
it gets
CUNY,
redder.
Yeah, it gets redder as you get out. Then you get out to Caldwell.
Yeah.
But I will say, across the political spectrum in civic leadership, I am so proud of all those mayors. I mean, I think they're doing such a great job, and city councils that are in tune with what's going on. Well, we're really lucky.
Yeah, I mean, you and I had dinner with Senator Risch.
Yeah.
And, sitting next to Senator Risch was Mayor McLean, who's probably the most prominent Democrat in the state of Idaho right now, right? And you had the mayor, Mayor Simonson from Meridian. And Mayor Kling from Nampa, and they're having robust, healthy discussion about how to solve problems.
Mayor Chadwick from Star, one of the fastest growing. Yeah. It's funny to sit and listen to them argue who was the fastest growing.
Oh, yeah.
They're debating statistics.
I'm like, Mayor McLean said that you and I were peacocking, and I was like, well, what about you guys talking about whose city is better? I mean, come on. But that's it. It's civil discourse, civic engagement, right? It's going to city council
And if you
meetings.
think about, I think what I like about politics at a local level is it doesn't get partisan too often. I mean, you're tackling huge issues together in things that matter, right? Whether it be education or infrastructure or homelessness or transportation. Yeah. They're just issues that hit home. It seems like it's where people still can get to come together and say, okay, how do we solve this problem?
Yeah. I feel like we have great agreement on this local level.
Yes.
Even wherever you are on the spectrum, our challenge is a little bit more on national, even on the state level. We struggle a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess the optimism that we're talking about is as many challenges we face, and we rattled those off in a hurry. you look equally, they're great people here.
Yeah.
I'm betting. I mean, I'm not. It's going to be. We're going to have challenges for sure, but
Right.
I think we've got a civic community, we've got a nonprofit community, and a business community that is really aligned
Engaged,
on trying to solve problems.
Yeah.
And I'm betting on us.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, we're in a renaissance. That's the best way
Yeah.
to say it. I mean, this is a Boise renaissance, and I don't see it ending anytime soon. The only way it would end is if we lock the door and don't let anybody else in. You know, if we get so negative.
I've never asked your take on housing.
Yeah.
What's your take on just housing prices and
Well,
like
you
if-
go
if
from
you-
one of the 10 most affordable communities in the United States to one of the 10 least affordable in 20 years. Yeah.
what is like if Mike Ballantyne were king for a day?
Yeah.
It could come in and say, hey, here's the policies. Here's what I would do at a state, local level to try to improve the cost of housing. What would it be?
Well, I mean, I think there's a few things. One is that community leaders all say we want affordable housing, but then when you talk about what affordable housing looks like, they don't want that, right?
Yeah.
It is very bare bones and basic sometimes. And cities get concerned about that. They don't want to create slums, and I get that. So some of it is cities saying, okay, it's important to have affordable housing here, and it doesn't need to have X much open space and X this and that and those other things that we're really trying to create that. Our housing stock, we've seen a ton of multifamily built in the last few years, and people have been a little bit negative about that, and we've had some mayors say no more apartments in my town. Well, we historically have about 8% of our housing stock in apartments. In multifamily, and a typical healthy market is about 20%. You have to have that product. What we're not seeing built either is townhomes and condos and that type of stuff, and you have to have that type of product because not everybody can afford an 8,000-foot lot with a 1,500-foot home on it. Some people need a 900-square-foot condo to start, right? You know, so we've got to figure that out. And cities sometimes don't want that. This is too dense, you know.
You need more of everything.
Yeah, you need more of everything. And, you know, and part of our challenge has just been, honestly, just material prices. Things are expensive.
Yeah.
You know, inflation has been pretty rampant. And we went through COVID and then the inflation after COVID. And so that really gets solved, I think, through innovation and technology, you know, finding new ways or cheaper ways to build, whether it be Autovol and their modular construction.
Getting closer to where that makes sense here. I remember
they talked about that. The guys at Trust Choice talked about that in the 70s. They bought 40 acres of Meridian to build a plant where they could build modular housing to ship to Alaska during the oil boom.
When you go back, I think it's probably 7 or 8 years ago with Caleb Roop, and I was talking to him about, hey, well, why don't you use any of this here? And he's like, no, we're not even close. We have to go to California where it's ridiculous, right?
Right.
Well, we're getting close now.
We think it's ridiculous.
We're getting close now.
Yeah. I mean, what a great guy he is.
Oh, my gosh. That guy's, he's the best.
Yeah.
One of the things that maybe you can speak to a little bit, it is harder to do anything right now.
Yeah.
Like,
getting harder all the time.
So in the middle, the one complaint, if it's a complaint that I would have, is we believe supply and demand until we don't, and you can hear people that are your elected officials talk about, hey, our number one issue is housing price. We want to keep our kids here. We want to make it affordable. Great. They control the number
they make
one
it really
thing.
hard.
Yeah, they don't control the cost of a 2x4 for sure, but man, they make it hard. It is brutally hard to get
look at
through.
ACHD's proposed ordinance where to double the impact fees, right? You're going to have cheaper housing if your impact fee that you pay when you go pull a building permit is twice what it was last year.
And the process is just mind-numbing.
Oh, yeah.
To get through. I mean, Steve Martinez was on, and we were talking about just, 20 years of home building on his part and what it was like to go do a little duplex. Because they'll also say, but they want infill, infill. Well, go try to go do a duplex in Meridian right now.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, they've made it
impossible.
Almost impossible.
They don't want that. That was my point.
Yeah, they don't want it. So I do think the housing thing, that's in a lot of our local leaders' control to try to free that up. I love what Spencer Cox is doing down in Utah. He's one of his goals.
Breaking down the barriers.
He's breaking down the barriers, and he's like, our goal is to have, it's 50,000 new starts. He's doing everything he can to just streamline stuff.
Well, he does a lot of stuff like that. He's got the whole Disagree Better program, right, with the governor of Colorado. And He's a thought leader.
I'm his
for
fanboy,
sure.
man.
Yeah, he's a
I'm
stud.
always texting him saying, "Man, I just love what you just said."
Yeah.
He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I knew this would happen, Michael. I wait, what, 2 years to get you on, and then an hour goes by so quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, wait 2 more years. I
Yeah.
guess.
See you in 2 years.
Can you talk about cycles in commercial real estate? Because I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Together is commercial real estate. Think about like retail's dead, right? Retail's dead. There's not going to be retail. Office
Right.
was booming. Now office is dead. No one even wants to say the word. You got industrial,
Right.
hotter than anything.
Right.
Talk about how you just have to sit back and be
Yeah,
a little
I
bit
mean,
patient as these things
Yeah,
cycle.
exactly. You have to have a long-term view. What did Mark Twain said? Rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated, right? Everybody thought office was dead. I literally have a client right now who I've worked with for about 6 months, and when I started, they were 3 days in the week. 3 days of the week, their employees had to be in office. And then they went 3 days a week in the office, and you got to swipe your badges, so we know you're really in the office. Then it was 4 days, and they just announced 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Because companies are realizing culture, efficiency, training, all those things are better when the people are in the office. So office, you're watching office market tick away, get tighter. We still have some corrections that are happening, or we've got some companies that have too much space that they're giving back and stuff like that. But, our developers have shown restraint in this market, and, most of the new office product is actually old product that's come back on the market, with the exception of some really cool buildings along the freeway. Our office market is healthy. Our industrial market, we had nothing.
Talk
Right.
about industrial, just because.
Well, I mean, a typical building was
start
30
dabbling
to,
in that really quick. So
Yeah.
I'm going to get some free advice right now.
Yeah, it was 30 to 60,000 feet was a big building back in the day. And, our market was controlled by one developer, and our vacancy was low. And, you got a building out there near the airport that's 900,000 square feet, and.
Old Ron Van Acker was my neighbor for all
Oh
those
yeah,
years, man.
I'm sure he was cussing about how stupid all these other guys are. But actually, that's a really key point in development. But one of the things that Clark at BVEP really focused on is how do we create a robust developer community, so when someone says, I want to come to this market, there's actually someone who can deliver quickly. You're one of those people. And so we have a really healthy development community. But, our industrial market's 8-9% vacant, and that's all stuff over 50 or 150,000 feet. You get below 50,000 feet, there's no
Pretty tight
space.
still, right?
Yeah, it's sub 3% vacant. So we'll work through it. We absorb 1 million to 1.5 million square feet of industrial a year. We'll continue to chip away at the rock pile. We just built
Micron suppliers, just that alone, right?
Yeah, I mean, a year ago, only 5% of our deals were Micron suppliers. Right now, they're on the industrial side. Now it's about 20%. So, that's going to continue to grow. But we just got a little aggressive and overbuilt, but that product is getting absorbed. And then retail, everybody said with Amazon, that no one's going to do retail. And it has changed somewhat. Retail now either has to be a service that is Amazon proof. You can't get your hair cut on Amazon, right? So a salon, some of those type of things. Or it has to be an experience, whether it be dining experience. That's why the Village is so successful. That's why hopefully your project at 10 Mile will be so successful, is that you have to create an experience. Why would I shop when I can just get it tomorrow from Amazon? Well, because the experience is amazing. Yeah. And so that's why these old malls are getting demolished, because it wasn't an experience.
What's going to happen with our mall?
I think it'll change. I mean, it's still a great location. Yeah, I think it'll change. It'll probably be more mixed use. I bet you'll see more housing component.
I heard the Apple store's leaving.
I don't know about that. I love Apple products. I don't know about that. I mean, the challenge is demographically, the valley has shifted too. Yeah. So the mall used to be the very center of the valley, and then it was Fairview and Eagle, and now it's literally 10 Mile is the very center of the valley. And with Highway 16, you're going to see more growth to the west, and that'll probably shift to 16 and 84. So as the valley, we can't grow to the east a little bit, Mayfield Springs, right? But you can't really grow too much to the east or the southeast because of the airport. So you're going to see a continued shift. And a lot of folks still view Boise as a one-store market, and they want to be right in the middle of the market, right? And so that's hard on the mall.
And then we hit multifamily. You guys do some reporting on that. It stopped, right? I mean, there's no new starts.
Well, what's interesting is, we overbuilt that product too. We overbuilt industrial, we overbuilt multifamily, but that product is getting absorbed pretty well. The incentives from developers or owners are down 20%. Vacancy, I think right now is 94%. So it's pretty healthy. What we're seeing a lot is activity from multifamily developers looking for sites, because by the time they get the site entitled and built, it's going to be 27, 28.
Then we're out.
And we're through that. Given current absorption cycles, you want to be coming out of the ground in 2027 or 2028. So it's just a little bit of an oversupply.
Hey, because we're down to it.
Well, let me just say one more thing. It does help affordability when we have too much product, supply and demand, right? So owners are given free rent or rent concessions.
Yeah, sometimes I sit and listen to folks, and I'm like, just look at your current market. That's how it works. So that's why we need more duplexes. We need more condos. We need more starter homes. It just, because look at even the rental market. The pressure eased off as soon as we had supply.
We went through that period post-COVID, 2021 to now, where, things were ridiculous. I mean, 2021 was stupid, right? And because we had basically about 18 to 20 months of pent-up growth when nothing had happened, and that all popped in 2021, that we don't want that, right? What we want is what we're seeing today, which is healthy, balanced, steady growth, right?
Hey, how old are you?
I was told there'd be no personal questions. I'm 58.
So we're the same. We're
the same age. I knew that. I thought you knew that.
I thought I did. You just look younger.
No, that's
so
not true.
58. What lessons do you give? I know you mentor a lot of people. What are your kind of the kids that come into you and say, "Hey, Mike, I want a career like yours." What are the few things you would tell anyone that came in?
Well, a couple of things. One is education, right? There are some great opportunities, like in commercial real estate. Go get your CCIM, your SIR, continue your education. When you stop learning, you start dying, right? Mm-hmm. So continue to learn, whether it be situational learning where you can go listen to a speaker, go to kerosene, whatever the case may be, go something like that and learn. I think that's really, really important. Read. I try to read every day. Take some time for yourself. It's also good for your soul. And then get involved with the community, right? People do business with people they know and trust, right? And if you're sitting next to somebody on a nonprofit board or on a task force and you get to know them, you're more likely to use them as your doctor or as your commercial real estate broker or as your property manager or as your developer, right?
Dude, that is rich. That's going to be a clip right there.
I don't know.
That's going to be a clip that's shared right there. That's. I couldn't agree anymore.
Well, you live it too.
But if you that's a really concise way of saying, hey, here's, and they're pretty easy steps, right? It's not setting artificial.
No.
It's so strange to me that where I've really seen it is I'm able to help with Mission 43 a lot.
Yep, great organization.
But you have these guys come out of the military that are studs.
Right.
And they get out and they're like, oh man. And I think when they hear from the business community, like, we never stop learning. We always, and they're like, oh, I can kind of just merge into this community of business leaders where everyone's it's not like you ever arrive.
That's another thing I found at Boise that's different. And I've seen it when I was up in Spokane. That's really different. People come, you get a phone call and say, hey, Tommy Alquist said I should go have coffee with you. You're one of the people I should know in Boise. And you go have coffee with them, and they're great. And then you say, hey, you should know this guy. There's a great book called The Go Giver. Yeah. It's that concept. That is Boise to a T.
It is.
That is not every community that we are in. We go to some other communities, and they are like, what do you want from me? And they are really closed. And that's part of what makes Boise, I think, so successful. But I don't know about you. I love the nonprofit side, the community side. I get more, serving on St. Alphonsus board was during COVID. I was the chair of SARMAC, and post-COVID, I was chair of the health system. That was more rewarding to me sometimes than work itself.
And this eternal principle that, like, you go to serve others. Mm-hmm. And you get done, whether that's a day of service, a week of service, or 5 years on a board. You go to serve, and you look back at what did I give, and what you get is exponentially more than what you ever.
Much more.
And that loop never ends, right? I try to help you, and you give me more back. And you get back. It builds a pretty rich life.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
When you sit back and look at, hey, my service, my time given to St. Al's, the board you're on. You'll say, I got way back more than I ever served. Okay? Yeah. So that's that eternal, and it brings happiness.
Yeah, when I'm 90 years old, I'm not going to remember how many Costco's I did, but I'll remember my time with St. Al's or the Salvation Army or BVEP or other organizations for sure.
Man, I love you, man. You're a great friend,
too, brother.
Great example.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and all you do in the community.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're a great example to so many.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.